The light caught in Alain's eyes and gleamed. "Come on," he said, closing his hand around Cedric's wrist. Cedric swallowed with difficulty and nodded. Alain's fingers were warm against the chilled skin covering his pulse. Alain led the way further into the stable, Cedric following closely behind with the lamp until they came to one of the rearmost box stables. It was empty and filled with freshly thrown hay. Cedric stepped inside and set the lantern down on an overturned crate, barely managing to let go of it before Alain's arms were around him, mouth pressing determinedly against his own. Alain tasted like apples and white wine. Cedric closed his eyes and lost himself in the feel of him, settling his hands over either side of the other man's waist. He didn't spare more than a thought for the death monk he knew was waiting outside the door. Experience had proven that Alain's silent watchers wouldn't say anything about what they did together, either now or to anyone else later on. Alain was hungry tonight. Slender body strung taut with need where it pressed against him, coat sliding off his shoulders seemingly of its own accord to join the jumble of gloves and scarves that already lay on the floor beside them. "Cedric," he murmured in that voice that always made Cedric turn shivery and warm inside. He slid his fingers into Cedric's hair, cupping the back of his skull. Cedric moaned as Alain nipped at his lips, sliding a hand around his side to rub at the small of his back. "Yes," Cedric replied, although it hadn't been a question. He felt drugged by the slick rasp of their tongues and the warmth of the hands burrowing under his clothes. Blunt nails pressed against his sides before raking slowly over his ribs, making him shudder. The heat that simmered just underneath his skin felt like it was going to eat him alive. Then Alain's nails moved further up his back, under his shirt, and Cedric couldn't help but tense, hissing out softly through his teeth. Alain froze, lips gone suddenly rigid against Cedric's cheek. He pulled back and bent to press their foreheads together, breathing out heavily. "Sorry," he whispered, soft enough that Cedric almost couldn't hear him. I forgot." Cedric shook his head, relishing the feel of Alain's hair rubbing against his skin where it was trapped between them. It distracted him from the reminder of the healing scars on his back, which were stinging now that he was beginning to sweat. "It's okay," he said, even though it wasn't really. Maybe they should have waited another day or two before doing this, but the desire for this, whatever this was always strongest immediately following his punishments.